Greetings from the Small Circle team. My name is Carrie McCoy. I'm your host of this podcast. Today's episode is a conversation with myself and my husband, Steve. We recently returned from a trip to Europe, and there were multiple countries we visited with discipleship trainings and networking and workshops. And this is a candid conversation between the two of us. We feel like just pulling up a chair for those of you are in our community. We already feel you're a part of everything that we do. So this is a way of sharing these stories and even some fun experiences and crazy moments with you. So enjoy the podcast and don't forget to hit subscribe. So here we are. We're doing this his and her podcast.
I'm his.
I'm a her. It's going to be hard to get through this because we've just been clowning around.
Yeah, that's pretty normal.
It is. If you know us, you know that's normal. So we are going to talk about what Small Circle has been up to because we've been all around the globe and we want to bring everybody in on where we've been, maybe some fun stories or progress. Anyway, so we were talking about where do we start because we've been to London and Lisbon, Berlin, Paris, Helsinki. So maybe we go back to...
Let's start in London. Yeah, that was kind of one of the first places in the last couple months or so. So that the cool thing about London is that the engine was really warmed up before we got there because our contact there is a pastor. His name is Mark. And I'm trying to remember how we met Mark, but as the relationship just kind of kept unfolding, Mark has actually just gotten so excited about Small Circle. He's taken it to a lot of different places outside London.
Yeah, you've been raving about you got to meet this guy Mark King. He's just gonna love him.
Yeah.
He's so into Small Circle.
Yeah, he's got a super cool spirit, quiet but like on fire kind of guy. And so you and I talked about this, but he's taken the tools. He's married to his wife who's from the Philippines. And so they've taken it to the Philippines. They were on mission there working there for a while. And so 2 languages, Tagalog and Cebuano, because they're just really, really excited about the tools there. And then he went to Guyana.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
And that was super cool. Remember,
the picture. Talk about the picture.
Yeah. So Mark is just kind of that rugged pioneer, and he went upriver in Guyana to places that most people don't go. And a lot of times when we go in, we're always checking, what's the tech? Mm-hmm. What's the, do you have a TV, a projector, an HDMI hookup? And he didn't have any of that. And so we just have a really neat picture of him who's on the beach, and you see 3 circles drawn in the sand because they didn't have a whiteboard, a flip chart.
It's the coolest picture, just like with the stick and the sand.
Yeah, and it just proves that the concept is so simple that you can draw it in the sand. And so got the people there excited about Small Circle in Guyana, which, by the way, is a first. We had not been there.
Because of Mark?
Yeah, first, because he took it there. Mm-hmm. So at any rate, and then right before we went to London, he was in Lithuania. And in fact, we just got a text today. Remember I read it to you that... they're so excited that they're already starting the translation, and they were just like, man, just really, really on fire for the tool. So that's super cool.
Yeah, he's gung-ho. He's gone really, really fast. He's very
so all
activated.
That was happening before we even hit the ground in London, and that's been going on for a couple of years. So
we went in there, and you had a training. We went to their church in Ealing.
Yeah, and I would say, first of all, let's talk about the city, because the city, of course, we're aware that in Europe, they're trying to iron out the challenges of immigration. Mm-hmm. And so on one end of that, there's obvious challenges of, this infusion of a lot of people in your country, and how do you handle that as far as education and healthcare, and you remember right before we went, there were like a lot of people in London kind of voicing their concerns.
And they were in the
let's say
streets. There was a lot of chaos there.
And it really wasn't toward the people. It was just trying to voice to the government, how do we figure this thing out? Because have we made, enough provision for everybody, et cetera. So,
and trying to maintain their culture, I think.
Right.
Too.
But the cool thing about it, because there's upsides and downsides to everything. And the cool thing about it is that it's such an eclectic mix in the city. Mm-hmm. And you see people from just a lot of different places. So it's really, really diverse. Mm-hmm. And for you and me, that just kind of lights our fire to see, because it's rich when you have people from different cultures.
Well, it was super exciting for me because I didn't know they had a whole Japanese community.
Oh, right.
Remember, we met Chisato, husband and wife. They're actually having a Japanese-led, with Japanese pastors-led church service in Mark's church every Sunday afternoon. They have a whole ministry of the Japanese people, which, with my background being a missionary kid to Japan, that was like amazing. I had never seen such strong Japanese believers before. That was a culture shock for me. It's so rare, but they were on fire, and we got to hang out with them and learn a little bit about that. But yeah, talking about all these different nationalities, very diverse and multi-ethnic training too, the church itself, Yeah.
And it always comes down from the leadership. We've seen it over and over, that the people in the training were already just prepped and kind of amped up because it had been flowing from Mark. And then we got to meet the lead pastor and never met him before. And, but at any rate, there's just, when you're standing in a room, you can almost tell you could call it the absorption factor, like they're soaking it in.
The electricity, just feel
Electricity, the appreciation, the gratefulness, the leaning in. And so it was just a great time. And then the worship service.
Oh my, I forgot about that.
That was just incredible. So cool. Just real and raw. And again, people from just many different cultures and so diverse. And so it was, and they gave me an opportunity to speak, and that was, I thought, super cool of them to do. And we saw Mark in action. He's kind of got that, quiet pilot like.
You would not think.
Now he's flaming.
He's so quiet and calm, and you have to lean in to hear him. And then all of a sudden he gets up, and he's this bold, very, very bold, powerful message and speaker, and you can tell he just really loves people. He's really about relationships all over wherever he is. Yeah,
so I really think, I think what we're looking for a lot of times is not just, hey, we go to a place and we do training. We're looking for baton holders and churches, organizations that get the picture that, man, something's missing here and we really need it, and for them to carry that baton forward. And I just have a really high hope in the church there in London, and with a lot of opportunity and upside to what happened there. So it was a really, really great time.
Yeah, and I interviewed one of the guys that was in the training, a young guy. He is actually in the tech world. It's his job. I don't know if you remember this. And I was talking to him. I'm like, what really stood out? And he's the fact that you guys give this away, and the fact that you have an app. Mm-hmm. That just blows my mind. He says, I've never seen anyone like this that has an app. So he was really from the tech world speaking. He'd never seen such a thing. So that was really encouraging too. So yeah.
And it was our first training in UK. So that was neat. So that's kind of, so we really always get lit up about new frontiers, new places. Mm-hmm.
We'll be back there, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Mark is going to probably continue to network. So that's somebody you guys can pray for this church in Ealing, for their pastor, for Mark.
And I think that's probably worth talking about, our plans as missionaries. So many times in our experience in the church, you have an expert come in, they spend a half a day or a day, and then because they have to go on to the next place because that's how they're making their bread and butter, they can't spend that amount of time. But our plan, because we're supported missionaries, so we're not charging them any kind of fee, is to kind of camp out there. And I can see that in London, where we go. We spend a week or two working with their leaders, their disciple makers.
Hearing about their culture and their context.
Totally, because
how to help them on
they always
board.
have a lot of questions, like anybody. You do a training and like, okay, how does this fit into our context? Where do we start?
Where
all
do
that
we
jazz.
start? Who do we start with? How does this work? Yeah.
And so it was just a super cool. I mean, we could go on and on, but I really, having the Japanese dimension was super cool. We were sitting at lunch, remember, and one of the pastors prayed in Japanese, and
so cool.
You were pretty moved by that, because that was kind of a new experience after being in Japan for years and years and not seeing much of that.
Yeah.
And just Mark's energy and passion. And so, yeah, I'd say the wrap up in London is that there's just huge upside and potential there that, we always look for that ripple effect. I think that's going to ripple out from them and really make impact.
So, yeah, we're just going to let that cook over there for a little bit and see what the next phases are. I mean, you're in touch, so who knows when we'll be back over there soon, but I think that's definitely
Yep. Then we went from there to my old stomping grounds in Boston.
That's right.
And so it's kind of very meaningful to me because that's where I exchanged my old life for Christ's new one. And in Boston, and had never been back. And that's where I first experienced that table for two disciple making and that investment that the pastor, whose name was Titus, made into me. So it was a really kind of big circle back.
Lots of memories.
Mm-hmm. And so that church and that gathering was for Brazilian pastors. And from our friend Stephenson, who is another quiet warrior.
You got to talk about Stephenson for a minute, because you guys are going to hear this name. There are a few names, and Stephenson is a connector of people. And just lean into that a little bit.
Yeah, when you meet a Stephenson, he's so quiet, so respectful that you could easily miss how influential he is. And so he lives in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And we were connected by a mutual friend, and he actually drove years ago from Myrtle Beach down to Florida just to have a meeting because he was so excited about SmallCircle and what it could mean. And he is really deeply connected in Africa, where as we do this conversation, we're having this conversation, that's where he is right now.
In the middle of nowhere.
In multiple countries, but has a really amazing ministry for children and schools, but also deeply connected to Brazil. And so he opened that door to Brazil, which we did a training this past year to about 250 pastors. And Stephenson seems like he knew everybody. He's
kind of like this mad scientist, but quiet. And one of the guys, Ron, who's connected him, told us the story of like Ron was kind of in a space where he was relocating, I think, from Brazil to the States. I don't know. But anyway, he's like, yeah, Stephenson shared half his towel with me when I didn't have anything, a bath towel, half his sandwich. He's like, he would just break this apart. This is my half. This is your half. I mean, he's just that type of servant. He's kind of like modern day John the Baptist, I guess, like locust and honey kind of guy. I mean, he's not afraid. He's such an adventurous spirit.
And it comes out in the way he operates too, because he's not territorial, and he's always inviting us in. He's probably sent 10 invitations from Africa for us to come over and now. So he had actually lived in Boston for a while, and that was the connection. And he was really connected. And this was kind of like a pre-training for some of the very key leaders there to go back in March or so, where we'll do a bigger training. So it was neat. Remember the old building that we were in?
Yeah,
it was almost like 100 years old. And it was just great to have just a taste of what's going to happen in March. But again, same theme. We'll probably hear it a lot. Really hungry, really surprised that we're giving the tools away, but just some great connections. And then
from Boston,
again, good to be Boston. Yeah.
Yeah. Then from there, where did we go after that?
Well, we came home for a
That's
week
right.
or so.
We had a week to pack for the next. So that
Yeah.
was a 2-week trip. And then we came back for a 1-week trip just to decompress, catch up on some things,
Yeah,
then
back at
repack
home.
and turn around. Because then the next one we just got back from was 3 weeks.
And I think we just left our suitcases in the living room.
We did. Why repack?
Like, why?
I literally took all the same clothes that I'd packed and just washed them and just put them right back in the suitcase. That's what I did.
I just
It's
kept
easy.
wearing them. Just kidding.
We are the king and queen of packing now. Let me tell you, if you do want some tips or what to order, and I'm like, I could do an entire vlog.
And
about
getting
that.
out of the hotel. Like, okay,
Oh
we've
my
got
gosh.
17 minutes. Let's pack it up. We could go.
It's a science. Yeah. Okay, so we were home, we packed, and then we were heading out we took a night flight. Okay, so that was really
That was tough.
tough.
And it was tough because we went, were in Tampa overnight, went from Tampa to JFK.
Left super early to JFK. Yeah.
Spent a couple days there, and so we're going to fly out JFK, and it wasn't that, relatively speaking, a long trip, which sounds like a good thing, but at night it's actually not a good thing because you're, by the time everybody gets settled and the plane's taken off and all the lights come on and they're serving food and all that stuff. And it's a 7-hour flight. By the time you can grab some sleep, it's
This
like
was
5
going
hours.
to Lisbon was the first stop.
Yeah.
So, but we arrive in Lisbon at like 8:30 in the morning. So if
Yeah.
you don't sleep,
So
you
we've had
start the
probably 4 or
day.
5 hours of sleep.
yeah, that was not. It was like really tough.
Yeah.
I can't sleep. Yeah. But anyway, so we arrived in Lisbon, and
Yep.
this was we talked about Mark in Ealing,
Yeah.
London, but this is Marco
Marcos.
Gaspar in Lisbon.
Yeah, long-term relationship, and one of the cool things that we love partnering with other organizations, and so one of those organizations is a missionary organization that's out of Arkansas, the Baptist Missionary Association. They opened the door to us to our friends in the Middle East.
The BMA has been a great connecting.
And so they connected us somehow to Marcos. He has translated all the tools into Portuguese for us, and he is he's bivocational. Remember, he's got a job that he does marble
Amazing
countertops.
marble, very beautiful. Saw some of his work.
Yep, and so he does that part-time. He's a part-time pastor and has been translating in the midst of all that. He's got a family. He's got a son that's got a beautiful voice, really amazing musician, helps lead worship. He's a church planter, so he's super, super busy. And again, just has seen, the need for that table for two relationship and his church plant. And so we've known each other now, 3 or 4 years. And just been waiting for the right moment. And he had gathered
So 8
pastors.
different churches represented, 4
yeah.
pastors, I think, is what it was in a room.
Yeah, 8 different churches.
Among
and,
other lay people and
another first. It was our first time in Portugal. And the city was beautiful, by the way, just kind of an older Spanish style. Remember the sidewalks?
the sidewalks have these like little well, he told us it. Funny story. Okay, you have to divulge the story. Like, so this, if you guys go on SmallCircle, the Instagram and Facebook, there are reels about these 2 trips to London and to Lisbon as well. But you'll see in the one with Lisbon, there are these, I guess they're hand cut stones
like
that
chunks,
are made
like-
of
yeah.
like make up tiles that go on the sidewalks all throughout Lisbon, and they make like these beautiful mosaic designs. So there's art also.
It's almost like every sidewalk.
Every sidewalk. They're beautiful. They're really beautiful. And so anyway, we're walking around, and Stephen often will collect a rock.
Something to remember.
Right. And so he sees one that's kind of laying out of place beside the side of the sidewalk in a little patch where a little tree is.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to pick it up. And I just had this instinct in me. I'm like, I just chat GPT'd literally on the spot. Is it legal to take? I don't know why I asked this question. Is it legal to take one of these rocks as
from
a
the
souvenir?
sidewalk?
And lo and behold, it is against the law. So he's walking around with it, and I'm like,
So I sneakily dropped it.
I'm like,
I still did wrestle with it though. I'm like, honestly, who's gonna bust me for a rock?
and then I'm like, I could just see me stuck at the airport, and he like is arrested or something stupid like that. But then we did confer with, and Marcus said, "Oh yeah, you're not supposed to take those."
So we were there just not too long. We did the training, and we had to scoot. They'd asked me to speak on a Sunday, but it was in the afternoon, like 5:00. But we had to be in Berlin and be in place on Monday morning for a conference called the Exponential Conference, which we've been doing for like 7 or 8 years.
Here in the States every year in
big conference
Orlando.
here, but they'd only done it in Europe. This is their second time.
Yeah, it's new.
So the exciting thing for us was it was a pretty wide net, and we're just seeing, and many others are seeing I think a true movement in Europe.
It's like an awakening that's happening,
especially with the younger generation, who, by the way, remember we were in Berlin in June, and there was a guy named Mark Sayers who was just an expert in history of Europe, and especially the spiritual movements and whatnot. And he had pointed out that this younger generation is super hungry. And so I was sitting there thinking, okay, well, I'm 66, and if I kind of missed the boat with this, and would we have a play? So I was going to ask him how do a generation that's older, how do they fit into this younger movement, and are we not going to be part of it? And somebody else asked that same question, and it was pretty exciting. He said, we have not seen this in younger generations where they're actually hungry for mentors, what they would call spiritual moms and dads, which is, well, you could call it disciple making. And so that was really, really great. So at any rate, this is how God moves. We always are saying, God, show us the people that are maybe you could say disenfranchised, or they have an angst of like, man, we keep doing the same thing over and getting the same results. So show us that person that has that kind of growing angst and is so ready for something new to add to what we already do in church culture. And so more specifically on this trip, just from a strategic point of view, the prayer was, can we find someone in Albania and Spain and Iceland?
Because we're not there yet.
Right. And strategically speaking, there were some strategic reasons for all that. But within the first 90 minutes, we had been introduced to 3 people from, guess where? Albania, Spain, and Iceland.
It was really uncanny.
And this is just the way that God has moved. Some people ask us, like, how has this thing grown? Because we're ranging around 150 countries now, and I say, there's not a formula. It really is following the prompt, how God prompts, and so that's just an example of. But the first day was a lengthy training.
Incredible.
Yep, and so
we had this little, what was a nursery. The facility was like this big church, and all the rooms were packed out with different workshops, and of course, then they come together in this big open session with everyone and have guest speakers. And then so Steve had a breakout, and
it
they
was
gave
actually a pre-conference.
A pre-conference, that's right.
And a lot of times in a pre-conference, they give you a lot of hours, which was a luxury. So we had 6 hours the first day of training from noon till 6 p.m. And then the second day, Tuesday, we were given from 9 to 12. So 6 hours one day, 3 hours the next, so 9 hours with the same group of people.
Well, we only had room for like 25 chairs and a couch, and they were packed out from them, and all through the whole thing, the same 25 people stayed.
And in that room, we had people from Lithuania, Albania, Spain, Iceland.
Missionary couple from Cali, Colombia, that are working as missionaries in Turkey.
Yeah. Norway, Finland, it was just an incredible mix.
Belgium.
Yeah. So it really hit us somewhere around 2:00, 3:00. It's almost like when Jesus fed the thousands, like, hey, these folks have not eaten yet.
Yeah, because it's a new thing in Europe. I'm sure budget-wise they can't afford to feed everyone. So it was sort of like, oh my goodness, and you would pause. Hey, do you guys need a break? And they were like, no, keep going. And we saw a couple come in, and they had actually left and come back and bought themselves some sandwiches that were wrapped in like foil.
Just for themselves.
And so one of the guys came to me, he's like, I think there might be some sandwiches around the corner of this grocery store. So I'm like, okay, this is the feeding of the 5,000 moment. I'm going to go and try to round up some bread and fish. So I go around the corner and I'm asking, of course I don't speak any German, finding someone that spoke English, and said, we don't have any hot sandwiches here. Go down to the street, take a right, and then there's this place called Dunner. So I'm like, okay. So I go out and I walk like half a mile, don't see anything called Dunner. I go 3/4 of a mile and I'm like, I give up. So I start heading the opposite direction. And I remember seeing the Uber where we'd driven in that there was some kind of little market. So I went by there all the way in the opposite direction, and I see like a beam of light, this restaurant sign that said Dunner, and it had just closed 1 minute ago. So I was like, oh my goodness. So by now I had left, and it's been probably like 40 minutes. Now it's not only 2, it's 2:30. And then I find next to them this little Persian mom and pop place. And I'm like, this is it or nothing. So I went in and asked him, I'm like, please. Thankfully, some woman was there that could translate for me. And I'm like, I need 25 sandwiches. And he's like, come back in an hour. So I'm like, okay, that means we would be eating at 3:30 to 4 o'clock.
And meanwhile, I'm training during this whole time, and they're not complaining one bit.
They didn't complain one bit. They were so grateful. Finally, when we end up giving them food, they just...
Yeah, when you walked in, it sounds like, okay, great, you went out and got sandwiches. But the impact that it made on them, I think, surprised both of us.
Yeah,
they were
really.
like, we can't believe that you would be thoughtful and, make the effort and provide, sandwiches for everybody. And I think it was like a turning point where
really
they're
was.
like, hey, these guys actually are here. They're not selling anything. They're really for us. They're with us. And it's just one of those relational moments. It's almost like you kind of wonder, like with Jesus, when, the people were hungry and the disciples were like, hey, go ahead and send them home. That if that was a turning point, you never know, but it was a turning point where it's like, wow, this guy really cares. He's providing some grub for us,
But their willingness, you kept prompting them. You kept giving them an opportunity. You guys need a break. No, we need to keep going. I think they really, one girl came up to me. She was in her 20s, and she said, I drove our entire bus of people here. And she said, I came in really done and emptied. I was so frustrated. She said the trip, there was some things happened I felt responsible for without going into it. She said, I just showed up here and said, God, I have nothing already. And so whatever happens here, it's going to have to be of you. And then she says, and I came in here and you two were the way you were, and Steve's message and your hearts. And she said, it was everything. God did it, what I had asked him to do. She says, I felt so cared for and provided for that I just ended up melting and just being able to open up to what you guys had. And she said, God answered my prayer with SmallCircle and with the two of you. It was like, wow, I almost like teared up. She was so genuine. And
yeah, and then at the end, remember Carlos from Spain stood up, tears in his eyes, to say, man, I could go home right now. That was only on day 2, so it was just super cool. The neat thing for me, from the training perspective, is so often I'm trying to train at like 3 hours. So there's still a lot of unanswered questions, and how do I get this started?
It's kind of a fire hose. When
Having
you do
9 hours with the same group allowed us to get deeper into the why and the how. And so here's the proof in the pudding. We passed around the sign-up sheet. Now,
like we always do.
Yep.
At these
And
events.
sometimes when I'm sitting in a room and there's a sign-up sheet, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to sign up. Or they're going to be on an email list and I can't get off of it and blah, blah, blah. Every single person in that room signed the sign-up list for follow-up. And from this conference, because then we did another workshop on the Thursday, but from this conference, we walked away with, I'm still catching up. I'm still running to catch these, but particularly really key contacts from 12 different countries. 8 of those are new places for us.
And
Lithuania,
super serious.
Albania, Belarus, Turkey, Iceland, Spain, a couple of countries in the Gulf nations. And so just that's super excited. But here's the deal. I've reached out personally to all 12 of those contacts, and every single one of them, all 12, we've already had some, but every one of us has had follow-ups.
100% have returned.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And you've done the same thing at other conferences and stuff like that. And
yeah. You just don't see that. So
shows how hungry they are.
Yeah. So we thought that was a real plus. A real amazing spark for us was inviting a really, really close friend to us.
Oh my goodness.
And his name is Volodymyr. It's another conversation for another day.
We'll have to do a single podcast on Volodymyr.
Yeah, but we met him in Ukraine. We've traveled many, many kilometers, many miles in Ukraine with him.
Let's just say, if you know Lord of the Rings, we carried the ring to Mordor with.
Because he is Samwise Gamgee.
He's Samwise Gamgee all the way.
So, any rate, we had not seen him. He had to, leave Ukraine because the invasion. So we'll get to that in another conversation. But we had not seen him since then, and we had helped him get out and believe his family was saved in that moment. So it's an exciting story. 3
children, two teenagers.
Yeah, but we were able to fly him into Berlin. He's now in Switzerland. He's a trainer director in Western Europe.
He's trained like 5 different cities in Switzerland, and maybe 2
other
and
countries
3
in
Italy
and Poland.
My goodness.
And so we got to see.
He's so talented. He speaks like 5 languages.
So we got to see our dear friend, and he was in some of the trainings, and we had dinner with him, and it was just an amazing.
It was really
amazing time
so
to reunite,
special.
And I think it was a spark for him too, since we hadn't seen each other.
Yes.
And even since then, it's just kind of like we never skipped a beat. So we ran that time in Berlin right up to noon on Thursday, and we had a lot of equipment. We had TVs to assemble, and
we had, between us, we had 2 suitcases, both of us,
each weighing 50 pounds, right on the nose.
Then our carry-on item, little rolly suitcases, as well as our personal items, just to give you how much, because you have to hold a lot of books, gear, setups for the in person. And then we were in 3 different climates. I think every single one, some was warm, cold.
Yeah, Lisbon was kind of warm. Berlin was chilly.
It was a strategic
So
pack.
I figure 250 pounds of luggage between the two of us.
Goodness.
So we went from there to Paris. And again, it's just another miraculous story. The first time we were there, coming through South Africa, we'd stopped for a day or so in the airport. We started looking up churches just to see, hey, is there any presence here of a church in Paris? And found a guy that was just
it was
amazing.
destined for us to meet.
who was launching a church. I liken him to Tim Keller, kind of right there in the center of Paris and right where the universities are. And that's a whole probably a different conversation too, what's happening there. But we spent time, several meetings with them. They have a Wednesday night gathering in their apartment flat that is absolutely packed out with 20-somethings, about 35. If you imagine a relatively medium to small size apartment flat with 35 people. And we brought in pizzas, and they had asked me to speak to them. And just an amazing time. And they have a beautiful piano in their apartment flat.
He's always getting you to play.
Yeah, so played a little Chopin. And
Nothing like playing French music for French people in Paris.
So we went to their church service, which they're in a movie theater. And again, maybe we'll just designate a whole conversation about what's going on there. But just feel so deeply connected to them, what they're doing. They really understand how to reach people in their own thinking and their own vernacular, not overly churchy, and these university students are just brilliant, hungry for the gospel and God, and they're just leaning in. So
they're in the 5th arrondissement in Saint-Germain, right?
Not Saint-Germain, but fifth.
The fifth.
Yeah, where most of the universities are located.
That's the thing. I think he said there's 30,000 students.
I missed that.
I think he said there was
amazing.
There,
So
I don't know.
we should probably talk about that maybe in a separate
there's so
conversation.
Much to say
to say. But then we headed home, and so we had been gone nearly 3 weeks.
Well, in the flat, we have this really nice flat we found tucked away in the 6th, and it is on the 5th floor with no elevator.
Yeah.
So going
old
back
spiral
to those,
staircase. It's slightly slanted.
So we arrived at 8:30 at night in Paris and had to get those 50-pound suitcases up the flights of stairs after traveling, and then we had to be curbside at 7:30 in the morning, bringing them all down. So that is a whole other experience that goes along with visiting Paris.
Yeah, we were tempted to drop those bags right out the window.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that was 22 hours back between travels, layovers, door to door.
22 hours.
And in those 3 weeks we were gone, I calculated we took 8 flights.
Yeah.
So that was a really it was very fast moving. We didn't have a lot of in between time.
And I think we would say at the end of the day, it's not for the faint of heart, but it's such a good fatigue because I think the response and the hunger and just that we feel like for those that are our inner circle, we really believe and sense we're there together.
It totally is a partnership.
Yeah, and it's just we're so grateful. Just wish we could pack everybody in a suitcase with us, but we do feel there is this kind of one writer says a mystic communion. I like that. It's kind of different, but it's between those that give and those that go, and we feel that when we're there, people are praying for us, people are supporting us, but we're super grateful for what God is doing. And so, it's taken us about a week to catch up.
Really for
Keep
me.
waking up at 3 a.m.
And we unpacked. So we turn around a week from now. We're going to Guatemala. So forecast what's coming up ahead, maybe a little bit. Yeah,
it's it will be an in and out trip. We fly down from Miami in the morning and then get there around lunchtime, train into the evening, wake up the next morning, train a half day till a little past lunch, hop on a plane and come right back. It's in Guatemala, as we discovered, one of the more dangerous places in Guatemala, but we're with another ministry partner called Love Serves, and so we'll catch you up as to what happens, but we love those guys. They're super fun. And this is new territory for them, relatively new territory. And again, another first time we've been in Guatemala. I've been in a lot of Central American countries, but first time in Guatemala. So, I think we've caught our breath now.
Yeah.
Time to pack it up, hit the road again.
Get ready to do it. But I think, some of the things, we can't post on social media. We can't post all of the moments. So we do try to do, I do try to do like a reel, just to kind of do an I don't know if that's the word for it, but just overview of the top points. But this is what this podcast is for. We're really trying to fill in what happens in between the lines, share some personal stories, bring you up close and personal with some of these personalities and names you'll get familiar with. If you want to track with them, you can even write them down, and then you'll hear them again and know who they are. But we're really grateful for all of you who are listening and taking the time to do this. This is a little bit of a longer podcast. We're at 40 minutes. Most of them will probably be a little bit shorter, but this was a lot of catching up to do. You give some updates and progress, and there'll be a lot of different kinds of podcasts along the way. Just again, sharing our gratitude for the fact that you care, you listen, you pray. It's so felt and so appreciated. So
super agree with that. Yeah, really appreciative. And just grateful for the open door.
It's incredible.
For the partnership.
Yeah, we're doing it together. I hope you enjoyed listening today to our second episode of the Small Circle podcast. Please do not hesitate to hit subscribe, because we're going to be back with more. Next week, we're going to be sharing a recording interview that we had in Senegal, in Dakar, Senegal, and you're going to be updated on what's happening in the Arabic world. It's going to blow your mind what's happening in Egypt and Jordan and those Arabic nations that are surrounding that area. It's incredible. Can't wait to share it with you. We will see you next time.